The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the usual pre-session chatter. You know, the kind where species who'd gladly vaporize each other over trade disputes pretend to be civilized because there are cameras present. Ambassador Krell of the Vothine Empire adjusted his 6 eye stalks, scanning the room with the kind of boredom that comes from attending 347 consecutive bureaucratic meetings. Order. The Council Prime, a floating jellyfish-looking creature named Velix, pulsed an annoying shade of authoritative purple. We shall now review the application for membership from Earth. A collective groan rippled through the assembly. Another backwater planet wanting to join the big leagues. How delightful. They call themselves humans, Velix continued, her translucent form bobbing with what might have been amusement or indigestion. Hard to tell with her species. Representative Marcus Webb has traveled here to present their case. The doors hissed open, and in walked the human. Krell had seen plenty of species in his tenure, some with scales, others with feathers, a few that were basically sentient gas clouds with attitude problems. But this human. Remarkably unremarkable. 2 arms, 2 legs, forward-facing eyes, no visible weapons or natural defenses. The creature looked like it had been designed by a committee that gave up halfway through. Greetings, honored members, Marcus said, his voice carrying across the chamber without any visible technological enhancement. Interesting. I'm here representing Earth and its dominant species, humanity. Councillor Thrax, a reptilian sort with scales that glistened like oil slicks, leaned forward. Yes, we've heard this before. Small planet, recently discovered faster than light travel, thinks it's ready for the big time. Tell me, human Marcus, what makes your world so special? Marcus smiled. It was the kind of smile that should have warned everyone, but nobody was paying attention. Well, before we get into that, perhaps you could tell me what our planet's danger classification is. I noticed it wasn't in the preliminary documentation. Velix's form shifted to a confused mauve. Danger classification. You mean, you don't know? Humor me, Marcus replied, still wearing that smile. Krell watched as Velix's attendant, a nervous-looking insectoid named Pip, scuttled forward with a datapad. The little creature's mandibles clicked frantically as he searched through files. Let's see. Ah, here we are. Earth? Class, oh my. What? 36 voices asked simultaneously. Class 9 Death World, Pip squeaked, his compound eyes widening to alarming proportions. Atmospheric oxygen percentage at 21%, gravity at 1.0 galactic standard, and O stars, an axial tilt of 23.5 degrees. The chamber erupted into chaos. Well, organized chaos. The kind where everyone starts talking at once, but nobody actually wants to be the first to run screaming. Councillor Morax, a blob of sentient crystal who rarely spoke, actually vibrated with shock. 23.5 degrees. That's insane. The seasonal variations alone would be catastrophic. And the oxygen. Thrax hissed, his scales rippling with distress. 21%. That's practically flammable. Marcus held up one unimpressive hand. The casual gesture somehow commanded attention. If I may. Silence fell. Suspicious, uncomfortable silence. You seem distressed about our planet's specifications, Marcus continued, walking slowly toward the center platform. Would you like to know what I find fascinating? When I reviewed the safety requirements for visiting other council worlds, do you know what I learned? Nobody answered. Krell found himself leaning forward despite his better judgment. Morax's homeworld requires a full environmental suit, because the atmosphere is methane-based and would suffocate me in minutes. Thrax's planet. Gravity is 0.6 standard. I'd need months of physical therapy, just to avoid breaking my own bones when I returned home. And Velix. Your oceans have a pH level that would dissolve my skin like sugar in water. Yes, well, Velix sputtered, turning an embarrassed orange. Those are perfectly normal environmental conditions for our respective species. Exactly, Marcus agreed, his smile growing wider. Normal for you. Now let me tell you about normal for us. He tapped a control on his wrist, and a holographic display materialized above the assembly. Images of Earth rotated slowly, looking deceptively peaceful from orbit. This is Australia, Marcus said, highlighting a continent. One of our 7 major landmasses. It's home to some of the most venomous creatures in our world. Box jellyfish whose toxin can kill you in minutes. Spiders that can put you in a coma. Snakes, insects, even some of our plants are deadly. Oh, and we have these adorable little octopuses that carry enough venom to kill 26 adult humans each. We call them blue-ringed octopuses. Kids find them in tide pools. Pip made a sound like a kettle having a nervous breakdown. But surely, Krell heard himself say, you keep your young away from such places. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. We run summer camps there. 4 children. 8-year-olds learning to surf while sharks patrol the waters. It's considered character building. The hologram shifted, showing a massive storm system. Category 5 hurricanes, Marcus narrated. Wind speeds over 200 miles per hour. We get several per year. Some people refuse to evacuate. They call it riding out the storm. We have entire festivals celebrating tornado season in some regions. Counselor Years, who hadn't spoken in 73 sessions, found her voice. Surely your young are kept in protected environments until they mature. Oh, absolutely, Marcus said, nodding vigorously. Then he paused. For about 9 months. While they are still inside the mother. Inside the mother. Velix turned a confused green. We're mammals. Live birth. The infant develops internally, then emerges through, well, the mechanics aren't important. What's important is that from day one, they're exposed to our world. That deadly, Class 9 death world you're also concerned about. Marcus changed the image to show a human infant, pink and squalling and completely helpless looking. This is my nephew, Tommy. 3 months old in this picture. His immune system is still developing. That oxygen you're worried about. He breathes it just fine. That gravity crushing you with existential dread. He's literally learning to hold up his own head against it. And those temperature swings from our axial tilt. His parents take him outside in winter and summer like. He's fine. Krell felt something unfamiliar stirring in his central nervous cluster. It might have been respect. It might have been terror. Possibly both. Let me tell you about Mount Everest, Marcus continued, clearly enjoying himself now. 8,800 meters above sea level. The oxygen is so thin that most species would lose consciousness. The temperature averages negative 19 degrees Celsius. The wind can literally blow you off the mountain. People die up there regularly. We've counted over 300 bodies that are still frozen on the slopes. And you avoid this place? Morax asked hopefully. We climb it for fun. For sport. We pay money to attempt it. There's a waiting list. The silence that followed was profound. It was the kind of silence that happens when an entire room of supposedly intelligent beings realizes they've made a terrible miscalculation. Finally, Thrax spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. How have your species survived? Marcus turned to face the assembly, and for the first time, his expression was completely serious. Because we're not meant to survive Earth. Earth is meant to make survivors out of us. Every single human you'll ever meet is the descendant of organisms that clawed their way up from single-celled life through billions of years of competition, predation, extinction events, ice ages, and disasters that wiped out 90% of all species. We're what's left. The ones who adapted. He let that sink in for a moment before continuing. You want to know what makes humanity special? It's not our technology, though we're pretty proud of that. It's not our art or our culture, though those are nice too. What makes us special is that we're persistence predators who learned to think. We're creatures who evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, who learned to throw rocks so accurately we could kill from a distance, who mastered fire and used it to reshape our entire world. We're the species that looked at wolves, the apex predators of their ecosystem, and said, you know what? I'm going to make friends with those. And we did. They live in our homes now. We call them dogs. Krell's eye stalks had somehow all focused on Marcus without his conscious decision. The human wasn't done. Every other species on our planet fears something. Predators, competitors, environmental hazards. You know what humans fear? What? Pip whispered. Other humans. Because we're the only thing on our planet that's more dangerous than the planet itself. The silence in the Galactic Council chamber had transformed from uncomfortable to downright oppressive. Marcus Webb stood at the center of the platform, looking perfectly relaxed, while every other being in the room tried to process the horrifying revelation that they'd been sharing the galaxy with creatures forged in a planetary crucible of death. Velix was the first to recover, her form pulsing a cautious yellow. Surely, Ambassador Webb, you're exaggerating for dramatic effect. No species could thrive under such conditions without significant biological advantages. Enhanced healing, perhaps. Armored skin. Redundant organs. Marcus's expression could only be described as delighted. Oh, you want to talk biology? Let's talk biology. He tapped his wrist control again, and the hologram shifted to display a rotating human anatomical model. Krell thought it looked disturbingly fragile. This is a standard human body. No scales, no exoskeleton, no natural weapons beyond our teeth and nails, which honestly aren't very impressive. We can't regenerate limbs like the Vextari. We don't have distributed neural networks like the Hive Consortium. We're soft, squishy, and according to every metric you probably use, absolutely terrible at surviving. Then how? Morax vibrated with genuine confusion. Adaptability, Marcus said simply. Let me give you an example. Counselor Thrax, your species evolved in a desert environment, correct? High heat, low moisture. Thrax nodded warily, his scales shifting to a defensive pattern. What happens if you're exposed to cold temperatures? Say, -10 degrees Celsius. I would enter thermal shock within minutes, Thrax admitted. Possibly death within an hour without environmental protection. Right? Makes sense. You're adapted for heat, not cold. Now, humans. We evolved in Africa, tropical and subtropical climates. But you know where we also live? Marcus grinned. Siberia. Alaska. Antarctica. We have permanent research stations at the South Pole where winter temperatures hit -60 Celsius. And yes, people volunteer to work there. But that's impossible without technology. Pip protested, his mandibles clicking frantically. Sure, we use technology. Heated buildings, warm clothes. But here's the thing. Drop a human in a cold environment with nothing but the resources available, and we'll figure it out. We'll make fire. We'll build shelter. We'll hunt food and use the animal pelts for warmth. We've been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years. Marcus changed the image to show various human populations from different regions. Notice the variations. Darker skin near the equator to protect against solar radiation. Lighter skin in northern regions to maximize vitamin synthesis from limited sunlight. Different body proportions to manage heat retention or dissipation. We're the same species, but we've adapted to thrive in environments ranging from rainforests to tundra, from mountains to coastlines, from deserts to swamps. Counselor Years, who had been silent again, spoke up. What about diseases? Surely Class 9 worlds have significant pathogenic threats. Oh, absolutely. Marcus said with entirely too much enthusiasm. We've got bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, prions, you name it. The Black Death killed a third of Europe's population in the 14th century. Spanish flu took 50 million lives in 1918. Malaria still kills hundreds of thousands annually. The chamber filled with horrified gasps. And yet, Marcus continued, we're still here. Not only here, but thriving. 8 billion of us at last count. You know why? Because our immune systems are absolutely ridiculous. The hologram zoomed in on microscopic imagery. We've got innate immunity, adaptive immunity, cellular immunity, humoral immunity. Our bodies maintain standing armies of specialized cells that identify, attack, and remember every pathogen they encounter. We intentionally expose ourselves to weakened diseases through vaccination to train these armies. We weaponized our own immune response. Krell found his voice, though it came out strained. You weaponized disease prevention. We weaponized everything, Marcus said matter-of-factly. That's kind of our thing. Fire. Started as a natural disaster, we turned it into a tool. Lightning. Terrifying electrical discharge from the sky, we bottled it and use it to power our civilizations. Atomic fission. The same process that powers stars, we use it for energy, and yes, occasionally to blow things up spectacularly. He walked slowly around the platform, making eye contact with various counselors. But you want to know the really scary part? The thing that should genuinely concern you about humans. Nobody answered, but everyone leaned in despite themselves. We're collaborative. We don't just compete with each other, we cooperate on scales that would make your collective species weep. When the asteroid hit our planet 65 million years ago, and killed the dinosaurs, that same event created the conditions for mammalian evolution. When supervolcanoes erupted and created nuclear winter scenarios, the survivors shared resources and knowledge. When world wars threatened to destroy our entire civilization, we came together afterward and said, let's not do that again. We created the United Nations, international law, space programs built on cooperation between former enemies. Marcus paused, his expression softening slightly. We're not perfect. Stars know we've made mistakes. We've had wars, genocides, environmental disasters of our own making. We can be petty, tribal, self-destructive. But we learn. Slowly, painfully, but we learn. The hologram changed one final time, showing images of human achievements. Architecture, art, medicine, space stations, particle accelerators, conservation efforts. You asked what makes Earth special, Marcus said quietly. It's not that our planet is a Class 9 death world. It's that we're Class 9 death world survivors who chose to become builders instead of just destroyers. We looked at a universe that was actively trying to kill us and said, we're going to understand you. We're going to master you. And then we're going to reach for the stars anyway. Velix had cycled through her entire emotional color spectrum twice. Ambassador Webb, I believe I speak for the entire council when I say we need to discuss your application privately. Of course, Marcus said pleasantly. Take all the time you need. I'll be in the visitors' quarters if you need me. Oh, and don't worry about the environmental settings. I checked. Your standard atmosphere is actually pretty comfortable. A bit low on oxygen for my preference, but I'll manage. We're good at that. As Marcus walked toward the exit, Pip suddenly called out, "Wait. Ambassador. One more question." Marcus turned, raising an eyebrow. "Your babies. You said they survive Earth from day one. But they are so helpless. I saw the image. How do they possibly make it?" Marcus's smile returned, gentler this time. "Because they are not alone. Human infants are helpless individually, sure. But they are born into families, communities, societies that have spent millennia developing systems to protect and nurture them. We carry them. We feed them. We teach them. We pass down knowledge accumulated over thousands of generations. A human baby isn't just surviving Earth. It's learning from everyone who survived before it." He paused at the doorway. "That's the real secret, Pip. We're persistence predators who learned to persist together. That's infinitely more dangerous than any individual strength could ever be." The door hissed shut behind him. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Councillor Thrax slowly turned to Velix. "We're going to approve their membership, aren't we?" Velix pulsed a resigned blue. "Would you want to be the council that said no to them?" "Fair point," Thrax muttered. Krell felt his eye stalks droop with exhaustion. "I vote we approve with one condition." "What condition?" Morax asked. "That we never, ever visit Earth. I've seen enough nature documentaries to last several lifetimes, thank you very much." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Velix called for order one final time. "All in favor of approving Earth's membership to the Galactic Council, with the understanding that their planet remains classified as extremely hazardous, and visitation is strongly discouraged except for the truly adventurous, or the completely insane." Every appendage, tendril, eye stalk, and manipulator in the room rose in unanimous agreement. "Motion carried," Velix announced. "Someone go tell the human we accept. And someone else start drafting hazard warnings. Very, very detailed hazard warnings." As the council members filed out, Pip scuttled over to Krell. "Do you think they are really that dangerous?" Krell considered this carefully. "Pip, they are a species that looked at a planet actively trying to murder them and decided it was home. They tamed wolves. They climbed mountains for entertainment. They survived by learning to throw rocks accurately. So they now have spacecraft, nuclear weapons, and apparently an unshakable sense of optimism about the universe. Yes, Pip. They are that dangerous." Pip's antennae drooped. "Should we be worried?" Krell watched through the observation window as Marcus Webb walked down the corridor, casually whistling a tune from his death world. The human stopped to help a maintenance drone that had tipped over, righting it with easy strength before continuing on his way. "No," Krell said finally. "I don't think we should be worried. As long as we're not stupid enough to become their enemies. Because I suspect that a species that survived Earth wouldn't have much trouble surviving anything else the universe throws at them. Including us." In the visitors' quarters, Marcus Webb poured himself a glass of water from the station's filtration system, took a sip, and smiled. The water tasted terrible compared to Earth's, but that was fine. Humans were adaptable. He pulled out his communicator and sent a message back home. "Mission accomplished. They accepted our application. Try not to do anything too terrifying before I get back. We're still making first impressions here." The response came quickly. "No promises. Australia just discovered a new spider species. It's venomous and apparently fond of hiding in shoes. Thought you should know." Marcus laughed, set down his communicator, and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his beautiful, deadly, absolutely insane home planet. And now, thanks to one honest presentation about what humans actually were, the galaxy knew exactly what they were dealing with. He raised his terrible-tasting water in a silent toast. "To survival," he whispered. "And to the survivors." Outside, the station continued its eternal orbit, and the galaxy kept spinning, now with one more species added to its ranks. A species whose baby survived a Class 9 death world. The universe would never be quite the same.